Yeah. Surprise, a little different than you're used to. Yeah. Dropping these bars on YouTube, knowledge I introduce you. Yeah. We chasing this money like it's the prize, it's the voodoo. Fugazi, fugazi, it's just a lie we buying into. We need some cars on deck. Get the rollies, get the Moe, all the Mars on deck.
All right, I have no idea what happened there. Good evening, welcome everyone. Hopefully, let me just check a few things. I'm running a little bit late. Busy day today. So let me just make sure that this is coming through okay. All right, don't know what happened there with the intro. Anyway, finance clinic. I haven't done one for a while. We normally do these on Sunday, but I was at Wembley for the NFL this Sunday just gone. So I thought I would plug this in today as a potential, obviously, for us to catch up, and we can get through any questions, any pressing things that you guys may want to ask about. One thing I did find out today, which was actually quite interesting, is I don't know if you guys know of Money Dashboard. It's a really great budgeting app. And it allows you to plug in your bank account details and analyzes your budget and all that kind of stuff. It's a really good tool. I had an account with them, and they're closing down at the end of this month. Unfortunately, they're citing that they weren't able to find a sustainable business model to carry on, which is really unfortunate. And you would have thought that an app like that, which is so useful, it has so many points of utility, would be able to survive in an age like this. But it's a shame to see that they'll be disappearing. I think they're recommending for their users to go to another budgeting app, but it is just a sign of the times, really, of the fact that, even businesses with great products and great services are finding it really difficult in the fintech arena right now. And certainly from speaking to some of my contacts in the fintech arena, funding is very difficult. And you got to remember, a lot of these startups, they have they're not profitable, unfortunately. And so we're seeing budget app, Money Dashboard basically disappear at the end of the month, which is pretty unfortunate. Anyway, let me just get straight into your guys' comments right here. So look, this is a finance clinic, so this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have. And you can ask anything around finances, whatever, as long as it's something that you are curious to have an answer for. This will be the chance for you to pop in your questions. So use the chat section. I'll go on for as long as I need to. If we don't get that many questions on, I'll close it early. If we get a lot of questions in, then I think we'll give it up to an hour max to get through some content and some answers for some people. So ask any question you want. Simply just pop it in the chat. Let me just make sure I've not been able to prepare the peripheries. In the chat. All right, so use the chat where you can. Spell chat right. There we go. And United are playing tonight, Galatasaray. I'm a United fan, but I despair watching that team sometimes. It's just, I don't even know if I want to watch it. But I will follow along because that's what you do through thick and thin. But there seems to be a lot of thick right now, in opposed to thin. It's just a nightmare. Anyway, Ivan, welcome. Good evening. Thanks for being here. This is the third, not the second. It is the second. Is it third today? Oh God, days run away from me. All right. Okay. So welcome, guys. It's like I said, questions in the chat. If you do have any, please do let me know, and we'll get through as many questions as we can. I've been following a little bit on interest rates at the moment. There's not really that much to kind of report, really, to be fair. I think some mortgage rates have come down with some providers. I think they've moved elsewhere. What we're hearing from the Bank of England is there's going to be higher interest rates for longer. So that precipice of where we are, that peak of where we are right now at 5.25%, we're going to see that longer than previously anticipated. So we may be stuck at 5.25, 5.5% for 6 to 9 months, which isn't really ideal. It doesn't help anyone with a mortgage or trying to get on the property ladder. With that being said, though, I had a really interesting conversation this week, and we're going to explore bringing some content to the channel and to the podcast on the mortgage side. I did a video where I think it was on the podcast, where I asked, would you go for a long-term mortgage? So would you go for a 20, 25, 30-year fixed rate mortgage? The poll was very, very interesting indeed in terms of people's views. And actually, from when I ran it in 2020, 2022, very, very different. Back then, it was a stark no. Now, it was majority of people saying yes, they would, even though it was quite a slim margin. I've got some really, really good information on a new provider in the space right now. And actually, the terms of this is very, very compelling. Really, really compelling. So we've got a few conversations that need to be had around organizing to get some content done here. But I think for first-time buyers, big, big win. Big win potentially for a first-time buyer, because the affordability doesn't really matter. Well, it does, but it doesn't. It's going to be a big win for first-time buyers. So there'll be more on that shortly. All right. So there are now questions in here. Let's have a look at this. All right. Pete, should I focus on maxing my personal savings allowance before maxing my ISA allowance? Interest rates are usually better on non-ISAs, so it makes sense, right? I mean, you can do, but your personal allowance is what, £1,000, something like that. Yeah, I think it's about £1,000. If it's not 1,000, it's two. It's not a lot. So for me personally, I would just say put it in ISAs. That's what I would personally do. But you can do the personal savings allowance first if that's what makes sense for you. But your allowance is very, very small, mate. It's not a large sum of money. It's nothing near the 20,000, but there's nothing wrong with maxing that out first. Kahinde, what's going on? Hey, Pete, your video explanation on ISAs is really helpful. I'm aiming to save beyond the 20,000 ISA allowance through LISA, cash ISA only, not yet using stocks and shares ISAs, and personal allowance for interest from regular savings account. What would you advise after this point? I'm a high rate taxpayer, so uncertain what the next best option to save will be. Really, really good question. If you're a high rate taxpayer, you've got that much additional disposable income, then the only way you're going to be able to use other tax wrappers, I mean, pensions, obviously. But the only problem with the pension is you're not going to be able to get access to it until 55 under current rules. So failing that, because you might need access to it sooner, the other options that you'll have, NSNI premium bonds. So you could put up to 50K. Yeah, in an NSI premium bond, maybe a little bit more. No, 50K is the max, right? 50K. My head is a sieve today. 50K NSI premium bonds, that's also tax-free. So those are easy ones without you jumping into the realm of investing effectively. So with a premium bond, you're not going to get a guaranteed rate of return. You'll be entered into the draw. But the biggest prize for NSNI premium bonds is £1 million. So if you win it, obviously happy days, but there are other smaller prizes that you could be eligible for as well, and they range from 50 quid all the way up to 250 to £1,000 here and there. So whilst it's not a known rate of return, if you do get lucky, it could be very, very good for you, and it's tax free. So if you consider those two things alone, so your ISAs and NSNI premium bonds, you're looking at 70K roughly. You can keep it tax free, and within your NSNI premium bonds as well, you can have access to it at any point in time. So it's instant access. So that's going to be a positive, clearly, for you. So I'd have a look at that. Those are the things that I can think of at the top of my head without jumping into the world of investments, where you'll carry capital risk in the markets for the capital that you're putting in. Gary, is a state pension taxable in the same way as a private pension would be? Would I need to consider that when drawing down a private pension? Yes, you are going to have to pay tax. Well, generally speaking, you're still going to have your personal allowance. So your state, anything over your personal allowance is going to be taxed, be that state pension or personal pension, private pension. You're going to get taxed. So what we would do when we're planning for these types of things, and this is where, getting some advice from a financial advisor or at least a tax expert would help you, is we would, if you're trying to draw income, we would look at everything that you have. So you might have ISAs, you might have investments, you might have pensions, you might have bonds. And what we would then do as financial advisor client relationship is we would have a look at the tax treatment of each of those. So you'll take your state pension because you're entitled to it, obviously. But the question will then be, okay, so do you have ISAs that you could potentially take income from, which will be tax free? Do you have bonds that you may have the ability to take income from, because you can take income from your bond potentially with tax deferred? So there are other, depending on what you have, there are other ways to mitigate the tax take. But yeah, your state pension is, you're going to be paying tax on that pretty much. If you're over your personal allowance, you'll pay tax, which is why sometimes what will happen is, people receive uh, income from ISAs, for example, and structure their income in a way that means that they're able to reduce the tax liability as much as they possibly can. Ivan, do you think that shared ownership? What do you think about shared ownership scheme? I've seen horror stories with developers increasing service charge 3 or 4 times over. Look, I think shared ownership could be a good option for some people. The thing is, you do have to look at all the pros and cons. Obviously, right? It's not going to be right for everyone. But I think in times like this, and I will have a podcast episode where I'm going to talk a little bit about this with a shared ownership provider. In a day where first time buyers are finding the whole deposit requirement a little too much and difficult to attain, shared ownership has the benefit of allowing you to get on the property market, on the property ladder, I should say, sooner rather than later. You get to participate in property appreciation, and then you've got the option to staircase up. If you're talking about service charge, mate, look, I bought a house on development, and we've got a service charge for the grounds, for the upkeep and the grounds, and that goes up every single year, it feels like. So that isn't just an issue with shared ownership. If you've bought like a flat and there's an annual maintenance fee, those things go up on a yearly basis. Maybe not by 3 or 4 times, but they do go up. So that's not a problem that is exclusive to shared ownership schemes at all. That is across most new build properties and new build developments across the country. There's a service charge. Those things increase. It feels like every single year with inflation, even though you can question whether they actually do what they do for it. I mean, that's the question we've been asking for the past 3-4 years. Like, what are they doing for the money that we're paying them? So it's not an issue, I guess, that's exclusive to shared ownership. But I think shared ownership could be a good option for many people. It's just a question of if it's the right option for you at the time. It's important to weigh up all the pros and cons. There isn't a replacement for Help to Buy right now. So for struggling people, it could be. Lucan, how do you use mortgage? How do you see the mortgage rates early 2025? Well, if we're going to see higher mortgage rates for longer, I don't think that we're going to see much of a reduction at the beginning of 2025, if I'm honest. Personally, I think we'll still be at the levels that we are at right now until we start to see interest rates fall. And remember, there's still one interest rate hike in the barrel this quarter. They've just decided to hold fire at the last meeting a couple of weeks ago. So I think we're going to see interest rates potentially increase still. And I think they would probably hold or go down marginally early 2023. If you're first time buyer, you've got to pay attention to your local area. I had a message on Instagram day before yesterday. Someone managed to find a property in their local area. I think, what was the rate? I think the rate that he mentioned was something like 5.29%. I think it was. I can't remember whether it was a 2-year or 5-year fixed rate, but he managed to get like a £39,000 discount on the property. So he's looking at it thinking, actually, it's a 39k reduction in the house price. Even with the mortgage rate of 5.29%, it still looked like a really attractive option. He was asking me, what do you think? Is this something I should go for? And I was like, listen, it's a £39,000 discount on the actual property itself. So 5.8, just found the message here, 5.8% fixed rate. You can argue pretty high, but a 39% discount. So as long as it's affordable from your monthly payments point of view, so you can afford the monthly payment every single month, and he's fixed for 5 years, then mate, go for it. Absolutely go for it. And I think he will at the end of the day. But you know, he's going to now have a property that he's going to be able to call his own home. And I think for a lot of first time buyers, you just got to keep your ear to the ground locally, because if you have a property down the road with a £20,000 discount because property prices have fallen, regardless of rate, it might still work out for you. GT Playboy, how often do you recommend upgrading your mobile phone, and what do you think about these new 36-month contracts? Mate, listen, I've not had a contract phone for about 4 years. I'm on a SIM-only deal, paying 10 quid a month, and I've got unlimited minutes, unlimited text, and I think I've got unlimited data as well. It's with Talk Mobile. That's the way forward. I mean, I upgraded my phone to the 14 Pro Max last year because obviously I use my phone now for streaming. So this is off my phone, and I use it for a lot of video work, but I've just paid that up front. And I've also put it through my business because it's a business expense. I use it for work. So it isn't coming out of my own personal pocket in a way. But I would not go into, for me personally, I've got no business going into a contract phone deal right now. Certainly not for 12 months, definitely not for 36 months. Absolutely not. I mean, if you think about it, guys, right? You know, some of these contracts now, and I don't know this because I haven't checked for a long time, but when I was looking at phone contracts all that time ago, you know, you're looking at £100 plus. I mean, even at £100 a month over 36 months, that's 3,600 quid. That's pretty mad. That's pretty nuts. I mean, I'm paying £10 a month. I'll pay 360 quid in that same period of time. It's mad, mate. That's how they're making money. I would not go into a contract phone personally, but each to their own. Also, do you know of any credit cards that offer 0% foreign transaction fees when using abroad? Foreign transaction fees when using abroad? Not off the top of my head. The account that will be really, really good for this will be clever with your cash, Andy Webb, because he tracks all of this stuff. I think American Express. I mean, I've got a platinum American Express card, and I'm pretty sure that it has 0% abroad. I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure it does. So maybe that's one off the top of my head, but I'm only saying it because I know that I've used mine. I've used mine abroad, and I don't recall seeing any charges for currency conversions or transactions or anything like that with American Express. I don't recall that. So maybe American Express, but be clever with your cash would be great for you to go check, because Andy tracks all of this stuff. Thanks for the explanation. Much appreciated. Thank you for the question. Thank you very much. Yes, mate. Listen, Jim's talking my language. Sim only deals all day long. All day long. Like literally, I don't know why I didn't get into sim only deals way earlier than I did. I mean, to think about it, it's mad. It's absolutely crazy. And maybe it's just that I just don't care about the phone anymore. Like when the iPhone first came out, I was literally one of those people that the new one would come out, I'd be queuing, waiting to get my hands on that new phone. It's died off now. I mean, like if you really think about the incremental increases that they make with things like the iPhone now, it's so minuscule. The only thing that I did like, that I did see online, I actually saw this on TikTok. Bearing in mind, I use this now for a lot of my video work, and maybe not necessarily my DSLR that I bought, is on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, they have action mode. So even if you're using handheld and it's shaky, the way it smooths it out is amazing. I mean, I could be tempted to upgrade for that, but I would be buying the phone. I'd be selling this to recuperate a lot of the cost. I'll probably make a little, maybe 200, £300 loss on it. But that's the only reason why I would upgrade. But I don't feel the urge to upgrade because I'm not really using it for the kind of things that would warrant action mode, to be honest. So I'm going to stick as I am. But sim only deals are the way to go, mate, if you can. If you're not too fussed about the phone either. Someone just saying here, sim only. I've gone sim only. Best thing I've done, mate. The amount of money you can save is huge. Same here as well. Simone here too. It's great. £6 for 10 gig of data with providers like Talk Mobile or ID Mobile. £6 a month. £6 a month. Wow, it's pretty good. Virgin Money did for me so good. Yeah. Someone's saying here. So Virgin Money were a couple of suggestions for you there. GT, and someone's also saying here Halifax Clarity Card also does 0% cards for you as well. Cameron, are you tempted with the 0% deals on Model 3s, or is it too small for you coming from a Model S? Mate, I've decided I'm going to run my car till it doesn't work anymore. The reason for that is because I've got free supercharging. So effectively, I've got a free car. I paid it off like 3 years ago. So I've got no monthly payments on the thing. The only thing I have to pay for is I have to pay for MOT and I have to pay for tires. That's the only thing I have to pay for. I've got free supercharging. I've got a supercharging station 5 miles down the road from where I live, fortuitously. So I don't even charge the car at home. So I rock up to the supercharger. So for example, I'm going for a corporate gig on Thursday. So tomorrow I'm going to charge, and that will get me to where I need to go and back, and it's going to cost me nothing. So tires every single year cost me in the region. Well, this year was a bit of a shocker because I've got my wheels are staggered. The ones on the rear are bigger than the ones on the front, and the two on the rear that I changed about a month ago cost me £700 for a set of two. So the fronts I haven't changed yet, and they'll probably be around about £500 to £600. So tires run me about £1,200, £1,300 a year, and I have to replace them every single year because of the power that goes through the rear wheel. So even with the Model 3 being 0%, it's just not attractive because yes, it's a smaller car, but then I'm going to have to get back into car finance where I'm paying monthly fees for it, monthly rates for it. I'm going to use a load of cash, which I don't need to. Plus, I'll have to pay for charging. So financially, it doesn't make any sense. If I was pushed, so someone drove into the car last, I think it was October, and the insurance company were potentially going to write the car off. At that point, I was looking at a Model Y. But even then, the thought of having to lump a £300-400 payment a month after having no car finance whatsoever for 3 years is just like, it's just not palatable. So I've got 175,000 miles on it. It's about to cost 176,000 this week, and I'm just going to run it into the ground. It drives fine. I've had no issues with it. Little things, door handles, for example, need to be changed. But the car's still pretty immaculate. It drives brilliantly. It's got a lot of life in it left still. So I'm literally just going to run it until it doesn't work anymore. And then I'll decide what I'm going to do. But if I'm honest, assuming in the next 2 years it happens, say in 2.5 years' time, and the mortgage is paid off, I might go and treat myself to the Model S Plaid because the Model S Plaid is insane. It's just freaking bonkers. And mine is a 2014 Model S. So I'm going from what is like a go-kart to a starship. It's mad, the Plaid. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I drove one about a month and a half ago, and those things are so quick. The tri-motor halo effect, it mate, it's mad. So that's what I would potentially treat myself to in maybe 2.5, 3 years time if I've successfully paid off the mortgage and the car then gives up the ghost. But before then, absolutely not. Any good alternatives to Money Dashboard? The other alternative that I'd probably mention would be Money Hub. Money Hub's pretty good. You can set targets in there. They can report your rent to the credit reference agency, so you get a little top up boost to your credit score for rent. So Money Hub is a good one, and the guys over there are very, very good as well. Ian Russell and the team. Which one is better? Higher mortgage rate with lower price to buy flat, or lower rate with high price for a flat? I would go with the latter, because the lower rate will mean that you're paying less in interest over the long term and technically should work out cheaper. But it does depend on the difference between house prices. If you're talking 100 grand difference, then you may either be in favor of having a higher rate with that significant lower house price. But if it's say, £4,000, then lower rate all day long. Um, a lower rate all day long for sure. But again, there are nuances within this. I used my nationwide, was not much exchange. I thought canceling a card. I thought canceling the card if it was stolen would be better than if my cash got picked, pocketed, or stolen. That's true. That's very, very true. Although some of the banks are very, very good now with the protections they have in place for people who are traveling. Um, some of them will. I've had it before where I think this happened years ago. I went to Thailand. We were in Thailand for Christmas and New Year's, and obviously I didn't tell them. But once they start to see transactions and they see a number of them, they'll block it and then ask you to phone them, just as a security measure. But typically, a lot of the time, they'll just hand back the money into your account. You say, "Look, my card's stolen. I don't know where I lost it, and these transactions aren't me." They'll pretty much just replace that money. But then you have to go through the hassle of you don't have a bank card anymore. So that's where credit card protection, all that kind of stuff, really does work. Libera $6.95 per month. All the minutes and gigabyte I need. I paid £60 for the phone. Motorola E13. Mate, listen, that's old school. That's old school. You know the phone that I really, really miss? There's a couple actually. You remember the old Motorola's that with the that you flipped open? They had the battery on the front. You had like the little bulbous thing that you clip it off. Then you pulled out the aerial. I love that phone. I think it was called the Razor or something like that. Sick phone. I would want to have one of those again, just as a little, I don't know, as a piece to just nostalgia. It just takes me back. It really, really does. Back in the day, because prior to that, the phones were massive. My first mobile phone was like a Nokia Ringo. It was huge. It was absolutely. It was like a brick comparison to the ones today. Thick, proper, like bulby. Like it was massive. And the Razor was the first kind of like tiny phones that you had where they flipped, and they were so cool. I remember the Nokia phone that they had in the Matrix as well. I don't think it wasn't the 7210. It might have been the 7210 where it was curved. You click the button and the slide comes down. That was so sick as well. I had that. Oh man, those were the days. Good old days. I'm ready with that Wi-Fi, so I hardly use any data really. So the small plans are great. Good. Aaron, hi Pete. I've got a 16-year-old Volkswagen Golf, had it 8 years, was thinking of upgrading to a BMW this year, but want a hair transplant instead while still wanting to save for a mortgage deposit. Not easy. Yeah, dude, that's a difficult one, mate. I know someone who's actually going for a hair transplant in Turkey this week, actually. And man, you know what I think about these kind of things though? I think that if you're trying to weigh up BMW hair transplant, go with a hair transplant, mate, because it's going to make you feel better. I mean, I've started to like go a little bit thin here and stuff like that, and I've noticed it. And it's probably because I used to sponge my hair, so I'm letting it kind of like reset, and it's growing back in now. But I remember being really, really self-conscious of it, right? And yeah, it's like you start to look at it, and as a guy, as a man, you're kind of like, wow, what's going on, type thing, It does impact your self-esteem. So if you're going to be thinking about, BMW or hair transplant, I'd go with a hair transplant as well. What do you do in relation to using hair transplant money for a mortgage? Oh, that's a tougher decision to make, mate. It really depends on how transplant is going to impact you. I think if you have more confidence, you might be more productive in work. So that could be a thing that you could maybe use as a motivation to be more efficient, maybe earn more money, increase your income. With that lens, it might help with the mortgage. But yeah, if you've got BMW hair transplant and then house mortgage, the BMW has to be the least important of the two. Then it's going to be a toss up between the hair transplant and deposit for a mortgage, really. That one's a tough one, mate. I can't help you there, but yeah, it's a tough call. Hang on one second. What did it go? The acceleration on the plaid hurt my face. Oh, listen, Cameron, mate. So my one does 0 to 60 in about 3.4, which is quick enough. And mine's rear wheel drive. It's not 4-wheel drive. The plaid was, oh my god, It's mad. It's absolutely, it's and it keeps going. So you're up at high speed. So you're up at 80 in like 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds. You're at 80 already. It's scary, mate. It's like throws you back. But yeah, it's just a shame that they've only built it in a left-hand drive. It's like, Elon, what are you doing, mate? Like, oh my god. Oh, so annoying. So annoying. I know there's a number of people that I know who put money down for the plaid, and they they found out obviously they were going to do it in left-hand drive, and they were like, listen, no. And obviously what they then did is they gave massive discounts to the Model Y and the Model 3. But the Model Y and the Model 3 is where Tesla and Elon are kind of focusing their attention because it's mass market, right? And that was always the plan. I think they sold 2 million threes already. And like the Model Y was one of the best selling for that segment all last year globally. They're crushing it right now. They really, really are. So yeah, but the plaid is so nice. Oh, just the build quality, everything's just different. I mean, I didn't necessarily like the yoke wheel that much, but the screen, the way it tilts, the fact that you've got the cup holders a lot higher up than what you have in the current uh, Model S, my one, it feels a lot more comfortable. It feels a lot more sturdy. It's just, it's a really nice car. Subscriber reminder. Listen, guys. Oh, 1 second. I know that we're talking, kind of not like off tangent here a little bit, but if you do get any value from any of this, please don't forget to smash the like button. There's about 42 of us at the moment. There are 9 likes on here, so if you could smash the like button, that would be amazing. It just means that other people can get to listen to the non topical things that we're talking about on the live today. Motorola Razor, that's the one. Yeah. Do you involve your partner with your finances, choices, splitting bills, etc.? Is she into it as much as you do? So my partner is actually quite sensible. I've finally got her to start investing for the first time. She's using Vanguard. She's putting 300 quid a month in. So I've got within Vanguard, you can assign access to people to view it. So I can see her portfolio. She sits alongside my one as well. But my missus is actually very, very sensible with money. She's one of those people that has never had credit cards, never used credit cards. She always lives through her means and stuff. So we do take joint financial decisions. So in the budget, for example, I take care of all of the bills in the house. She takes care of the food. And so that's her main thing. She takes care of the food. That's her main responsibility within the household bills. But things like holidays and stuff like that, we generally we make just joint decisions on those. Paying off the mortgage, that was a joint decision on that specifically, and the plan around that. So she is involved, and I think it's important to kind of talk to your partner about those kind of things. We don't have a joint business account. I'm a joint personal account. I'm one of those people. I don't know. This will and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. I think if you're a couple, there are merits in having a joint personal account, household account. We don't actually have one, and maybe I'll do a video on that as to reasons why. I'll give you some of them here. I mean, my background is I've always been very, very independent and kind of like I've been on my own since I was like 17 years old. So, sense of independence has always been important for me. But at the same time, we talk about money and I want her to obviously have her own money. And if she needs me for whatever reason, obviously I'm there all the time. And there is no secret about the money that I have in my account. She knows the money that I have. She knows the investments that I have. Same thing, vice versa. But we just don't have a personal joint account. That might be something that we actually do at some point in the future, but right now we don't. But there's merits in having joint personal accounts. But she's very clever. She's very conscious, I would say, when it comes to money, but she's not into like the whole investment markets economy as much as I am, because I'm interested in this because it's been my career for 15, 16 years, well, 17 years this year, 18 next year. So yeah. Just looking at a question here from Dylan. 1 second. When this catches up. It's a shame that you don't do unlimited supercharging anymore. Yeah, you know what? It's the one thing. Look, there was no way they were going to be able to sustain it. So I bought my car. I was one of the first people to have a Tesla. Like literally. I mean, the Model S's came out in 2012. they launched, 2012, 2013, they launched. I bought mine in 2015. So I was one of the first ones. And the reason why they offered free supercharging was because there wasn't that many superchargers around anyway. I mean, when we first bought the house here, the supercharging station wasn't there. So for the first, I think it was 3 months of me having the car, I was plugging in and charging every single day. It just so happened that I went to the petrol station to get something. I went to get a drink, and on the way driving out, I saw Tesla superchargers, and I was like, "This is amazing!" And that was in 2016. So bearing in mind we're in 2023 right now, and I've had the car since 2015, I've had years of free supercharging. So if you equate that to what my fuel expense would have been, it's huge. I had an Audi A6 prior to that, and I was doing around about 50,000 miles a year. I was filling up at least twice a week, and that was running me probably about, I would want to say, about 160 a week. So if you do the maths on that over the course of what, 7 years, that's a lot of money that I've saved just with the function of the free supercharging. But from Tesla's point of view, there was no way that they will have the volumes of car that they have around now with free supercharging. That it costs too much to install, it costs too much to build, it costs too much to basically run. And whilst it's not a profit making service or facility for Tesla, it is one that definitely gives them an advantage. I mean, I've driven twice to Stelvio Pass, so through France, through Belgium, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, into Italy, and all the way back. Even did a bit of France, supercharging the entire way there and back. And the first time we did this, we had one of my mates. He's now got a Tesla. He had like a Fiesta ST. He had that thing mapped so quick, tiny little thing, really, really quick. And even in his ST, that week cost him, I think it was about 250 quid or something like that, because of the roads we were going on. So, but he's now got a Tesla because he was looking at me thinking, "You're not spending any money, Pete." And I'm like, "Yeah, because the car's going to tell me where I need to go, where I need to plug in, how long I need to plug in for, and it's free." He just couldn't believe it. Now he's got a Tesla with also free supercharging. So we did it. We did Stelvio for the second time last year, 2 Teslas, and we supercharged the entire way there and back for free. Didn't cost us a penny in fuel. So really, we had to pay for the Eurostar over. We had to pay for hotels and food. It's really, really good. But those days are long and gone, mate. Which is why most people, if they want to buy a Tesla, if it's a used Tesla, free supercharging is a massive perk to look out for in one of those. Opinions on the recent changes in net zero and upcoming Tory changes. You know what? I've not actually paid attention to it at all. I think politically, though, I think it's one of those situations where the Tories are trying to separate, like have a clear separation between Labour and them politically. That's what I think. Whether it's going to work or not, I don't know. I mean, I'm just listening to Suella Braverman today, and I'm just like, it's. I don't like the rhetoric that's being used with immigration. I just don't. I understand. Yeah, we need control over our borders. We should have like responsible immigration policies, but I just don't like the language of multiculturalism has failed. There are people, there are communities living separate lives. It's like at the end of the day, when English people go to Spain, you have Irish pubs, British pubs. We create our own communities. That's what people do. So Indians come over, Chinese people come over from different cultures. You're going to attract one another because the nostalgia of home. Like I still miss Nigerian food, even though I was out there for 10 years. So I go and seek out Nigerian food sometime. That's what happens. To say that multiculturalism has failed, I think they're taking extreme instances and using those as the reason for what will be quite a considerable change in stance, language, and policy. And I don't know. It's really, really sad to see. But I think the Tories are toast. They're done for. They're done. They're done for. That's it. They're done. They're not going to be in power for a long time. And look, do Labour have all the answers to this? I'm not confident whatsoever. People just assume that Labour's going to get in, they'll fix all the issues. No, they won't. Same problems. We'll still be talking about the same issues over again. I think what people will hang their hat on and their hopes on is that at least there'll be a different direction or a sense of a different direction, whether or not that's possible. But we do need we need economic ideas from our leaders for sure. I mean, just listening to what's his name, Sadiq Khan. I mean, who in their right mind extends tolls to the Blackwall Tunnel now? Even if it is £3 or £4, why? I don't get it. Like, people are struggling enough. You've just extended ULEZ. Now you're going to make people pay. You're proposing to make people pay for the Blackwall Tunnel. That tunnel is a freaking nightmare, by the way. You try going through that in rush hour. You're in queues. Now you have to pay for the privilege of being in that queue. It's the only bridge in that part of London. It's unbelievable. And how they can justify that, I just don't understand. Like, the role of government is to make people, to look after people, to make people's lives better. Like, for people in London, or God forbid, people who are self-employed, who have businesses that they have to go into London, have to pay ULEZ, then have to pay for the privilege of using the Blackwall Tunnel as well. And those are the people that are struggling to make ends meet, who are just barely making it work already. And now there's an additional daily cost to use the Blackwall. I mean, it's not kicked in yet, but still, it's such a bad proposal. It's like, what are you doing? Like, read the room. But there you go. Have you heard of the BYD seal? I don't think it's as fast as the Plaid, but looks nice and rumored to come to the UK this year, I think. I have heard of the BYD. Mate, you know what? If I were to go from a Tesla to anything, the only thing I would go to is probably a Porsche Taycan, purely because I like the way that it looks. But there's still the issue of charging network. That's the big thing. There's still the issue of charging network. I do a lot of miles. When I do go out, I do a lot of miles. So I need to know that there is going to be enough charging facilities to get me from A to B without too much hassle. With Tesla, it's just so simple. The car tells you it's here. I know where all of them are. So if I'm going to London, I know exactly where to stop, how long for, get on the road, and back and forth. There's not that many in the UK that I've not been to, apart from maybe the ones in Scotland I haven't been to. But most of the others across the country I've been to, because I travel that much. And that would be a problem going to another electric car manufacturer. The fast charging units, that, yes, they're quick, but there aren't enough of them at this point in time. And if you look at the map of superchargers from Tesla, they're everywhere. And that would be my only concern if I went from a Tesla to a Porsche. And definitely if I went from a Tesla to a BYD, that would be my main concern. And so really, it's kind of like Apple. You're stuck with the products, right? Because the ecosystem is so good. But then again, the driving experience is also so good. It's just that Teslas they are freaking amazing. They really are. It's so comfortable. It's hard to explain. Bit of a learning curve, but they're great. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you very, very much. And yeah, GT's just given a reminder there. As always, please don't forget to smash the like button. People, we're at 22 right now. I'm just saying now, I've got a blemish on my credit score for a direct debit error on a mobile phone. If the service provider fails to sort it, what next? Communication ombudsman to seek help from Experian. Okay, so if it's a mistake, if it's a blunder from the mobile phone company, because I had this years ago, and I actually give it as the example in my book. What you can do is you can put a notice of correction on your credit score. So what I would do is, so bearing in mind there are three. There's Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. You want to make sure you get a notice of correction on all three of them. There's actually a 7-step process that I actually talk about in the book, which takes you through how you actually challenge it, what to do, and at what stages to do it. But really, if it's a mistake, it is the job of of the provider to make sure that they remove it, or at least put a note. And the notice of correction basically just tells any future providers that you're using for applications to disregard X information during this time on credit score because of blah 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 blah. So it should be pretty straightforward. Bear me one second, guys. Do I offer one-on-one financial advice, for example, mortgages? Right. So I'm a qualified financial advisor and mortgage advisor by trade, but I don't actually advise on investments and I don't advise on mortgages. I do one-on-one coaching with people, and that takes the form of, so for example, if you are trying to work towards buying your first home and you just need a little bit of structure around how do you maybe budget and actually set a plan together so that you've got a clear path on, right, this is how I'm going to save for my deposit. We organize your finances. I do a lot of coaching for people who are looking to invest for the first time, who may be a little bit confused. They've watched a lot of videos here on the channel or on the internet. Generally speaking, they're a little bit confused. I can help identify goals, and document all of that kind of stuff and say, right, okay, these are the main things to look out for. I do financial reviews with people, which is a bigger piece of work for people who just want to fix their finance. So I do one-on-one coaching. It's not advice, it's coaching. It's very, very different. But for mortgages, it depends on where you are, Jesse. I mean, by all means, if you message me on IG or just email me at hello@peterkomalafe.com. So my name, peterkomalafe.com, hello@peterkomalafe.com. We can have a conversation there. I do like 30-minute free discovery calls just to make sure it is the right fit. If I can't help, I probably will know someone that will be able to help you as well. So reach out to me and we can kind of take it from there. Bear me one second, guys. Let me just catch up with myself here. Yeah, this is a really good tip from Cameron here, Jim. So yeah, so Jim, if it's in the so the basic formula, the C is under the C. It will tell you exactly what you need to do there with a step-by-step process guide there. Do you need to be a qualified financial advisor to be a financial coach like yourself, e.g., budgeting, first time investing, improved credit scores? Not really. I mean, coaching isn't regulated like financial advice because with a financial advisor, what you're doing is, you're coming to me and I'm basically taking your 50 grand or 100 grand or 25 grand. I'm taking that money and then I'm investing it in your name on your behalf and I'm then managing it. That activity of me taking your money, investing it in your name on your behalf is a regulated activity purely because you want to make sure that the person that you're giving money to is regulated by an authority. With coaching, we don't do any of that. We don't take your money, invest it. We don't manage your debt for you. We don't manage any of your resources. All we basically do is give you guidance, help you make the right decision through conversations, through workshops, through sessions, through assessments. I mean, for a lot of people that I do coaching with, we actually run behavioral assessments as well. So the idea behind that is, are there any habits? What is your financial efficacy? How do you naturally make financial decisions? Those things are very, very important in the coaching process. You don't have to be a financial advisor for that, but I do think having a qualification in my instance for both financial advice, investments, pensions, that kind of stuff, mortgages definitely adds a little bit of depth to what I'm able to do with people. Because if you didn't have a qualification, their knowledge is going to stop at a certain place. They won't be able to maybe give you context past a certain point. Whereas there's a lot of context that I can provide. And that leads to practical tips of actually, this is the first thing you need to consider doing. And these are the kind of the pros and cons that you also need to consider within this decision tree process as well. So I would say it helped, but that's just me being biased. I spent a lot of money and time getting those qualifications. So of course I would say that. Some may argue. Hi Pete, I took over a 40-year life insurance policy at 24 years old and now fear that I took out this policy way too early. I'm aiming to buy my house in 2026. Okay. I was misinformed that putting it in trust would protect against inheritance tax, but apparently this isn't the case. Am I better off cancelling and registering for another policy when I buy my house? Okay, really good question here, Darius. Um, how how old are you now, mate? How old are you now? Because look, I don't think it's a bad thing that you've taken out life insurance early. The reason why they say it's best for you to take life insurance early is because it's cheaper when you're younger. So you could load it up right now, or you could have loaded it up right then. So let's just say you're 29 now. Okay, so you're 5 years in. Okay, so I don't know what you have. I'll come to answer your question in a minute. But what I want to say is first and foremost, it's good news. It's good that you did it early. So, for example, if you have life insurance kick, and let's just say you took out 500,000 in insurance policy, right? You would have got it cheaper than if you applied for that same amount of cover today. Why? Because you're 5 years older, which means that you're 5 years more likely, well, not 5 years more likely, but you're older and more likely to, I don't know, have an accident or suffer from some illness, right? Because you're older. And insurance companies will rate your premium with age. So I'm 43. There's no way that I would get the same or equivalent policy to you at the same price point that you got it at. No way. No way, because I'm 43 years old. I'm much older. They'll say, well, now I might be more prone to, I don't know, freaking cancers or heart disease or whatever it might be, right? So the fact that you did it young is good. Now, whether or not you should actually cancel it and register for a new policy, that would depend on what you have on the policy. So again, what do you have? Life insurance? Do you have life and critical illness? What do you have in the as the sum assured? So how much you covered for? If it's is it £100,000? Is it £500,000? If it's say £100,000, you're looking to buy a house in 2026, and you know you're going to be buying a place at £300,000, then is it better for you to take out a new policy for 300,000 in opposed to just doing a top up for 200,000? Not necessarily, because £300,000 in 2026, you'll be 31 at that point, is going to cost you more. So, oftentimes, when I would look at this for a client as a financial advisor, one of the things that we would do is we'd do a side by side comparison. We have to really look at the existing policy you have. Because one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to go and change that policy for something new, but there's something really important and tangible in this policy here that you can't get over here, because then you're losing material benefit, right? And from a financial advisor's point of view, if anything were to go wrong, that's the kind of stuff that they get sued for, where they have to pay compensation to you for. So there's a real point of comparison. Now, if you're willing to pay more because it will cost you more, but if you get better cover, then that might be a justification for canceling the old one. But what I would suggest you do first is speak to a protection advisor. Okay. Speak to a protection advisor. And the reason why I'm asking you to do that is because a protection advisor will go out against the entire market, quote you, and do the comparison between the old one and the new one. And they will be able to tell you to say, this new one is better than this one, the old one that you have. Or if it's not better, this one's better than this one. This is why. This is what you might be losing if you go here and don't keep the old one. And they'll give you a full list of all the pros and cons. But you will pay more for sure. You definitely will pay more because you're now older, and you'll be older in 2026 when you finally get to purchase the house as well. You're saying here life and terminal illness for 250K. Yeah. So I mean, the only benefit that you might have is that because medical advances obviously have moved forward, and they move forward every single year, there may be certain medical conditions that you wouldn't be covered for under the existing policy that might now be on the new policies available. So you might, for example, right, you might have a rare form of cancer which isn't covered on your existing policy, which might be covered on a new policy now. And God forbid, if you had that condition, it's going to pay out the amount, the sum assured, right? So there's so many variables here, mate. But I would definitely suggest that you speak to a more a protection advisor. If you don't know one, or you need one that would do a good job, message me on IG, and I can put you in touch with someone that I know who does really, really good work in that arena. But yeah, you keep this one until you know what you're going to do and what the price points are for the new ones, and if it's going to be any better or not. All right, so there's a question here from Cameron. I'm just waiting for this to load up. Great question, Dorian. I have a whole of life insurance and always wondered if it's worth looking for better deals as you get older, or just locking in young is the best decision. Yeah, it's typically cheaper when you're younger. I mean, by the time you get into like 50s or so, it's so expensive, man. It's so expensive because the chances that you'll suffer like a critical illness or a terminal illness or some form of like cancer, the odds are so exponentially high in comparison to when you're 23, 24 years old, when the immune system is is firing on all cylinders. You've not had the hard yards and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a difficult one. If you've got something, generally getting it younger is always good. All right, no worries, man. Listen, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I will have a couple more videos this week. Maybe one at least. I've just been really busy. We're launching a new venture into the corporate space at the moment, and that's taken up a lot of my time, just in terms of web design and on all this kind of stuff. It's actually quite distracting. But yeah, I need to power through that, get through that, and then I'll be back here properly. We're going to do more investment content. I've got a few plans. I'm working on a massive project for next year for this channel, actually. It will be exciting if I can pull it off, but it's still very much at the very preliminary stages. But it will change the direction of the channel next year massively. I had an epiphany like a week and a half ago, and I'm going to pursue it, basically. So we'll see, but I'll let you guys know once I know more, whether it's actually feasibly possible. But thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate every single one of you and your questions and the engagement. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to all of the new people who have followed as well, but there will be a video later on this week. I'm getting that people are more interested in maybe some of the things that I've done. Someone's asked me how much have I saved and invested over the past couple of years, running my own business and stuff, off the back of the budget video from last Friday. So I'm thinking about actually maybe just talking about how where things like my dividend payments have gone, the dividends that I've taken from the business, where that's actually gone. A lot of it you'll be able to see. I paid up a massive chunk of the mortgage, but just explain how it's all structured, just for context. It's a little uncomfortable, but I think I might do it. But anyway, thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening, whatever it is that you're doing. And yeah, I will see you later on in the week for more content. If there is anything that you guys want to see specifically on the channel, by all means, just let me know. It's very hard sometimes trying to figure out what content I should be doing, and so feedback is really helpful and stuff. We'll obviously do more Q&As, but if you want to hear something specifically, you want to know how I've done something specifically, let me know and I will make a video on it. But guys, have a good evening. Catch you later on.
Yeah, surprise, a little different than you're used to. Yeah. Dropping these bars on YouTube, knowledge I introduce you. Yeah. We chasing this money like it's the prize, it's the voodoo. Fugazi, it's just a lie we buying into. We need some cars on deck. Get the rollies, get the Moe, all the Mars on deck. We got the traders, got the picture with the Bentley in Dubai. Are you dripping in designer, looking fly? On the bombardier, sipping on the wine. Broke man, we broke. Where's the fun in being broke? Stocks and bonds get you yo. That's what I'm teaching these folks. I see that smoke, see them choke. Getting coke. While I'm researching these stocks, buying coke. 20 months on the channel, million people taking note. I got a warrant for Buffet. I'm coming for his vote.